Salutations, soft targets, automatic here for automatic games. Thanks for joining me for Season 1, Episode 12 of our XCOM 2 series. In our previous installment, Bravo Squad deployed in Vancouver to effect the capture of an Advent intelligence officer. We also staffed a new engineer in the Advanced Warfare Center Infirmary, this to speed up the healing process for wounded personnel. It is believed among the troops that something big is in the works, and indeed among senior officers. It is widely known that Colonel Van Dorn is hammering out the final details of our forthcoming attack on the black side in Mexico. It is also widely rumored that Van Dorn intends to clamp down on discipline among the combat personnel, that is to say, imposing haircuts, a rigorous exercise regimen, and uniforms on the soldiers. And this isn't something that most soldiers welcome, but nonetheless, it is believed to be around the bend. Now, we have received word that a group of resistance fighters are holed up in a abandoned colony in northern Canada. So we're setting course there to initiate a scan in hopes of recruiting these personalities and adding them to our ranks. Now, as you can see, troops are already being released from the infirmary. Okay, we're getting new details about a possible target. Again, this is going to be in the vicinity of Vancouver. An Advent train has been identified carrying sensitive intelligence information, and Charlie Squad is on deck to deploy. Charlie Squad is, as always, commanded by Frederick Wydra, codenamed Corky. He'll be taking his usual kit into the field today. He will be joined, as always, by John Clayton, codenamed CJ. In addition to his normal gear, he'll be taking along the flashbang grenade. Also by Conrad Siderson, codenamed Cider, who's taking his general loadout. They will be joined for the first time by Dan Richards, codenamed Boot. This is in an effort to give him more field experience, and he may not be permanently attached to Charlie. Also, as usual, Thomas Trumpet will be coming along, codenamed Titanium. As he is the combat medic, he will be bringing a med kit. And finally, Troy Black, codenamed Blackwidow, who, along with his typical kit, will be bringing the frost bomb. And that does it. As you can see, they're dressed kind of an olive drab. Anyways, Charlie Squad, you may board when ready.
Ranger in position for deployment.
Copy that, Firebrand. Begin your descent.
Remote reconnaissance has picked up an unprotected access point along the Advent network. Apparently, it's a terminal on one of their trains. We're heading in to recover whatever data we can on the latest alien project before they lock down the connection. Neutralize all enemy targets and secure the area. We need that data. We can't pass up any opportunities to shut down the aliens' progress.
To a man, Charlie Squad is grateful that Titanium was released from the infirmary in the nick of time to join them for this op. They're also keenly aware that they have a new recruit in their midst, and privately, Dan Richards is experiencing a bit of trepidation, as it is known that Charlie Squad is overly ambitious and aggressive. Suffice to say, he's nervous. Charlie Squad is boots on the ground. The squad is deployed just alongside the railroad tracks, and they already have eyes on the rear train car. The car containing the device in question is a few cars up from this one, and as is typical, Corky has ordered his squad to expedite their approach towards the target location.
They keep these trains running around the clock, but you'll never see them loading or unloading any cargo. At least not where anyone can see it.
I've alluded to the stigma that surrounds Charlie Squad, and I want to speak off the cuff about each individual squad member's impressions as they pertain to Charlie's reputation. Now, I will deviate from that commentary should any enemies emerge in the field, and I will abandon the discussion if Charlie finds themselves in a firefight.
Getting it done.
Let's start with Corky. Corky wears this stigma, so to speak, as a badge of honor. After all, he sees it as an indictment upon himself, and he's quite proud of the reputation that Charlie has earned.
Closing on target position now. Enemy patrol on the move.
Okay, we've got 2 on the grid, 1 Advent officer, and 1 stun lancer, both aboard the train. Next, let's talk about Titanium and Blackwidow, because they are relatively like-minded when it comes to Charlie Squad's reputation. And initially, sure, they were skeptical about Corky's decisions on the battlefield, but over time they have come to embrace his decision-making.
Will do.
And while they'll both acknowledge that he is a rash commander,
Moving out.
they have definitely become accustomed to his style of command.
Running.
Next, let's talk about CJ, who is, for all intents and purposes, a chip off the old block. He immensely respects Corky, absolutely adores the man, and he has since day one. And so he is a strong advocate of Corky's doctrine. And should Corky step aside, Corky would want no one else but CJ to take command of the squad, knowing that CJ would basically emulate Corky's own approach. And next, there's Cider. Conrad Siderson, and his file even talks about how he's a bit of a rebel and he goes against the grain. And while, okay, we've got 3 more on the grid, 1 mech, 1 trooper, 1 sectoid. Add that to the Advent officer and stun lancer, there are 5 on the grid, all of which are pretty much aboard the train. So back to Cider.
Double time.
While he's not necessarily outspoken about Corky,
Got it. Move.
if one was to quote-unquote party with him, because Cider is a hard partier and a drinker, if one were to engage in that with him, he would privately confide that it is his belief that Corky is going to get them all killed eventually. He doesn't think that Charlie Squad is long for this world. And yeah, Cider is a bit of a pessimist, but nonetheless, he does believe, and in fact has gotten into heated arguments with members of Alpha Squad about Charlie being the most effective squad XCOM can field. Certainly members of Alpha Squad would take umbrage with that, you know? I mean, they think they're the best. But Cider thinks that Charlie Squad is the most effective, but nonetheless, he thinks that they all kind of have a death wish at this point. And, you know, maybe the most revealing would be Dan Richards, the new recruit, because he's coming at this from an outside perspective. You'll remember that in the last episode, he took to the field with Bravo Squad. And when he walked away from Bravo Squad, he did so with this impression that Bravo was by far some of the nicest people he's ever had contact with. And certainly Bravo Squad leader, Weasel, his own file says that he is probably the most amicable member of XCOM. And all of Bravo Squad, they respect their squad leader, which is not necessarily the case with Charlie Squad, and it's not even the case with Alpha Squad. And so, you know, if anything, Richards hopes that if he is permanently attached to any squad, that it will be Bravo Squad. Now, upon telling them that next he's going to be falling in with Charlie, members of Bravo Squad cautioned him, especially Manzer, saying, you better keep up with Charlie, because if you don't, they're going to leave your ass behind. Now, upon falling in with Charlie, certainly CJ has been the most welcoming and hospitable. He's a compassionate guy, and Richards would not ask CJ about the reputation, and even upon asking Titanium or Blackwidow, the two of them would basically ignore his queries. But Cider basically told Richards, yeah, you better stay close to us, because Corky's going to get us all killed eventually, and you just better pray that it's not today.
The Advent network is almost entirely locked down. We're running out of time. Get to that terminal.
And Cider can be mischievous. Maybe he was just screwing with the new guy. Whatever the motivation, the net result is that Dan Richards is a nervous wreck and is doing his best to contain himself. Now, Corky has ordered Charlie's squad to spread out along this roof.
Copy. Moving on target.
Ultimately, one soldier is going to have to drop down and approach the device while covered by the remainder of the squad. And to be honest, that soldier will more than likely be Corky himself. Definitely a squad leader that's not afraid to lead from the front.
Moving on target
And,
location.
you know, actually, I guess that's true for all the squad leaders. That might be where the similarities cease, though. Corky is definitely known to be the disciplinarian of the three. He is not above dressing down a squad member that gets out of line. He has basically read the riot act to everyone in the squad with the exception of CJ, who just has never gotten out of line.
Moving.
And yeah, he'll write you up. Corky will. And you know, with Bravo Squad, Weasel, he is the least likely to write you up. He is the most likely to sit you down and try to hash things out.
Understood. Moving out.
He's very, very approachable. And Alpha Squad leader Valdez, old school, he's the opposite. He's known to be aloof. Very religious man. If you get out of line, he will likely pray for you and just hope for the best. Though he's not above writing you up either.
Confirmed.
But very aloof. Nonetheless, he's respected by the majority of his squad. Weasel's respected by all of his squad. Corky, you get a mixed bag.
Moving out.
Like I said, Titanium and Blackwidow, they are aware of his faults, and Cider is a bit critical of him. Now, Corky's going to go ahead and initiate the hack.
Moving out.
And you know, I mentioned Cider being kind of mischievous. I crafted him after a guy I know from Xbox Live, Contented Cider, and he has a YouTube channel as well. Check it out. But he's not like that at all. He's not a jerk. He doesn't screw with people. But anyways, I got to take some liberties with these characters. So the hack is successful. And I believe that means that concealment has just been lifted. So we are about to go loud.
We're busted. We've confirmed successful acquisition of the asset files. Eliminate any remaining hostiles in the area.
Sure enough, Advent is on the move. Cider takes a shot at the sectoid. It's good. Titanium gets a hit.
X-ray neutral.
Richards puts down the sectoid.
Kill confirmed.
The Advent turret springs to action. The Advent commanding officer is moving. Here goes Blackwidow. He's going for the stun lancer, and he puts him down.
Kill confirmed.
Excellent work thus far.
Advent troop spotted.
Oh damn, 3 more on the grid. A Viper, a stun lancer, and a trooper.
They're repositioning on us.
The mech is on the move. CJ gets a hit on him. On it, rather.
Put up the armor.
Mech's taking aim at Cider. Holy shit.
Help! No, damn it! No!
Cider's down. CJ is panicked. The turret opens up, it's a miss. Blackwidow is gonna retaliate against that damn mech. Or attempt to, anyhow. And he destroyed that thing.
Target neutralized.
Titanium is going to go after the turret. Ultimately, we want to remove all immediate threats. And then we'll have Titanium check after Cider. Although I have to admit, there's a lot of blood. Richards is going for the turret. And the new guy finishes the turret off. Yeah, Cider's in a bad way. Corky is going to go into a modicum of cover near the front of the engine, and then he'll go into Overwatch for the time being.
Overwatch.
The Advent officer maneuvers over by that patrol car. He's going for a flanking shot on Blackwidow. Luckily, it's a miss. Viper's coming up, targets Corky. Latches onto him and bounds him. So Corky is bound, slightly wounded. The trooper fires at and hits Titanium. Titanium is also wounded. Stun Lancer coming right up. Also going after Titanium, who is now stunned and has taken an additional wound. The situation is developing quickly, as you can see. Blackwidow is going to attack the Advent officer. In fact, he'll deploy the Frost Bomb.
Throwing grenade.
And so that enemy officer is frozen in place. In the meantime, CJ is, well, he's conscious of the fact that Titanium's in trouble, but so too is the squad leader. So he'll sidestep and attempt to assist Corky. And he does, by killing the Viper.
Enemy eliminated. Gonna need to reload
Corky
soon.
retrieves an Elerium core from the field, dropped by the Viper. Now, Titanium is still stunned, so he's suffering a movement penalty. In fact, perhaps his only option is to attack. And so he does, and it's good. The Stun Lancer is down.
Running dry on ammo.
Boot, concerned about Cider, will move over to his position.
On the move.
Are there any targets in range? There are, and Cider doesn't look like he's doing good. Boot puts down the Advent trooper.
Gonna need to reload soon. Roger that.
And yes,
Got it covered.
it's becoming increasingly apparent that Cider has likely expired in the field. Blackwidow is going to fire a high explosive at the officer. This should also ignite the patrol car, and as long as the officer is frozen, he won't be able to escape the subsequent blast.
On Overwatch.
CJ will stay put. Titanium's moving. Well, let's have Corky retrograde back on top of the building.
Confirmed.
No, actually we'll have Boot go ahead and move over to Blackwidow's position.
Position now. Affirmative. Covering now.
He's likely uncomfortable with what he was seeing with Cider.
Moving to position.
Of course, Titanium, being a medic, although wounded, is going to move over to Cider's position. He's going to retrieve what we can confirm is Cider's dead body.
On the move.
He will move behind cover. The officer is free. But Blackwidow's plan worked.
Secure. Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
So there concludes the mission. So, there's an empty seat on the Sky Ranger. And obviously, this is not to say that we're not bringing Conrad Siderson's body back. We are. And his morbid prediction, at least as it applied to himself, came to pass. It did not extend to the entirety of Charlie's squad. And that's fortunate. But the fact remains, I'm disappointed. Of course, this is something that we're going to have to anticipate. It is one of the contingencies of warfare. But no one should quite get used to it. We do have a few promotions to dole out, 2 of them. One goes to Blackwidow. And if you couldn't tell already, I'm not a big fan of blast padding, so he will be taking Shredder. Well done, Blackwidow. I mean, nice work with that officer for sure. And the mech that killed Cider. And then there's Dan Richards, who certainly did gain experience in the field, and we're not training him to be a medic, but rather a hacker, so he will be taking Combat Protocol, which effectively buffs an ally. Those buffs delivered via the rover unit that Dan maintains. Alright, well done, Charlie. And in terms of material gains, we brought back an Elerium core, and a whole slew of bodies, including one of our own. Sorry to dovetail back into that, but that is a fact. And so, let's see. In terms of new research, Dr. Tygan now has a mech with which to deconstruct and examine.
Hello, Commander.
The spokesman has rewarded our efforts with a healthy cache of supplies, and CJ has recovered from being shaken. So that's altogether good. We can certainly use the supplies. Anyhow, let's look at the geoscape. It is apparent that an engineer is willing to join us. We just need to fly to his location and initiate a scan. And we will do that, but first we are going to resume scanning that abandoned colony. We'll set course there.
Avenger plotting new course.
And as mentioned earlier in the episode, there's a small group of resistance fighters at that location. Men that we would like to add to our roster.
I do not think I could have predicted this outcome, though it is intriguing.
Magnetic weapons.
These magnetic-based weapons are a lot like the early railgun prototypes. They fire projectiles at extremely high velocity.
Looks good. And in the coming days, we will begin equipping our soldiers with these weapons. They shall add a little more punch. Anyways, as you can see, a cannon, a pistol, a shard gun, much like a shotgun, and of course the magnetic rifle. And we can initiate and conclude research on this turret. So we will do just that.
We see employed by Advent throughout their various facilities and security checkpoints are automated, much in the same way the alien mechanized units are. A significant amount of time was likely spent developing the optical sensors and targeting system, which I expect Shin will want to thoroughly examine following the disassembly process.
Advent doesn't seem to have any issues stationing completely autonomous weapons in close proximity to the people in those cities. Really shows you how much they care.
Are you surprised by their lack of compassion? I'm certainly not. Anyhow, we could now construct the defense matrix. But as to our next research project, let's see. How about a Viper autopsy? Yeah.
Although I would expect to be growing more accustomed to seeing the clear intermingling of both human and alien genetic material, I must admit, this reptilian creature with such distinctive human features is surprisingly unsettling. Invasion-era reports include references to a species with some reptilian qualities, but nothing as readily apparent as this.
Interesting. I wonder if their blood is an aphrodisiac when drank. No? Strange question? It's not so strange, Doctor. Sorry, I apparently cut him off mid-sentence. Oh well. Oh good. Well, the next chamber, in fact, is the one that houses the exposed power coil. So, we're going to get right on that. It's been some time coming, and there's still the time that we'll take to clear that chamber that remains. We're going to put 2 engineers on it, though, which should cut down on the time it takes to clear. And you know, I think we'll even go a step further. We're going to go ahead and pull that engineer that we have on staff in the infirmary and have them also assist with clearing out that chamber. And so we have all engineers working on this, basically because I want to solve these power problems as soon as possible. Alright, well, back to the geoscape, where we will continue the scan. And here we are, 3 new recruits. Excellent. That's like 1 for each squad, but also we have Dan Richards, of course. So yeah, let's see who they are. Gary Hillsdale, Christian Arnold, and Kevin Wolf. In a moment, we'll take a look at their files. But yeah, considering we can field 6-man squads, and our squads as of now only consist of 5 each, that'll come in handy. Although I'm inclined to train each one of these rookies, that way we can choose their field of specialization. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and investigate their files. And so we will begin with Kevin Wolf and proceed from there.
Kevin Wolf, codename Zombie Wolf, born Duluth, Iowa, 16 December 2014. Kevin was thrown into an Advent institution for mental rehabilitation by Advent authorities due to his failure to assimilate. He escaped during a mass breakout and joined a resistance cell, taking the fight to his former captors. Zombie Wolf is a wild card, the result of his many years in captivity. Christian Arnold, codenamed Reaper, born Knoxville, Tennessee, 3 April 1996. Reaper joined the Marines at 18 and was on the front lines of repelling the alien invasion. When his unit was nearly destroyed defending Annapolis, a few of them moved into the mountains, surviving by raiding and resisting. A quiet and reclusive man, Reaper has seen more than his share of battle. Gary Hillsdale, codenamed Bard, born Lancaster, Virginia, 22 December 1979. Gary served in the United States Air Force, eventually being stationed at Area 51. He retired in 2009 and began directing theater back in Virginia. When the invasion began, he was recalled. Area 51 fell into alien hands, and Gary fell in with a fire axis resistance cell, attaining a position of leadership.
And so we are joined by an insane asylum escapee, a former Marine, and a veteran all too familiar with the alien threat. As we say hello to 3 new recruits, we also say goodbye to an old friend.
Now hear this. All hands come to attention for Corporal Conrad Siderson, codenamed Cider. Born February 16th, 2013. Died April 19th, 2035. He was 22 years old. Corporal Siderson spent 42 days in service of the XCOM program, over which time he participated in 3 missions and is accredited with 6 enemy kills. His epitaph shall read, "He lived hard and fast, a perfect representation of Charlie Squad. As he often predicted, he died young. Our consolation is that he died instantly while doing what he loved, raising hell. Please pay your respects to Corporal Siderson in the Avenger Memorial." That is all.
Well, I suppose the most appropriate way in which to show our respects is to raise a glass. Here's to Cider. Anyhow, we certainly appreciate his service. If you like this video. As always, I'm Automatic for Automatic Games, and I appreciate you watching. If you are subscribed, I will talk to you soon, friends.